Welcome back to the bucket list. Now, the council may be off duty for the summer, but here at Leeds Civic Hall there's a rather different kind of theatrics, as renowned theatre company Theatre Mill are bringing Agatha Christie's legendary courtroom drama Witness for the Prosecution to town. Let's go take a look inside.
It's about a murder, and it's largely centred on a court case, both the preparations for the court case and the court case itself, and then a slight interlude where something else happens, and then we go back into the courtroom. So it's centred on trying to work out who committed the murder. It's good. It's a lot more rewarding part than I thought it would be. And when I read the play, he's sort of got one line every sort of page and a half, and I thought, well, I can just sit there and wake up when the time comes. But actually, the witnesses sit just there, so I'm actually in the eye line of the audience virtually all the time. So it's a constant thing of reacting. He's quite urbane and playing the part of the judge some of the time. He can be strict when people like Mr. Myers, acted by Clive, oversteps the line. But by and large, he's quite at home in the proceedings.
Members of the jury, the proper time for me to sum up the evidence to you and instruct you as to the law is after you've heard all the evidence. But because there's been a considerable amount of publicity about this case in the press, I just want to say this to you now. By the oath which each of you has just taken, you swore to try this case on the evidence. That means on the evidence that you're now going to hear and see. It does not mean that you should consider also anything you've heard or read before taking your oaths. You must shut out from your minds everything except what will take place in this court. You must not let anything else influence your minds in favour of or against the prisoner. I'm sure you'll do your duty conscientiously in the way that I've indicated. Yes, Mr. Myers? I
love Leeds because it was the first time I started to do acting, because I didn't do it at school, and I came to university and here up the road and found acting. So it's nice to come back. Yeah, we did pantomimes and we did quite heavy stuff, but it was yeah, and some good people worked with. Yeah, so it got me the bug really. Yeah. So I've got really pleasant memories of Leeds. And it's great to see how it's changed. But I never came into this chamber, which is magnificent, absolutely brilliant. Well, it's quite a straightforward case, and it's a lovely character to play in this play. Yeah, he's a lovely character to relish. He's described by one of the other characters as an irritating gentleman. So when you see that, you think, oh, that's good fun. That'll be really good fun. And quite a few nervous twitches and things, which is great to play with. And there's an antagonism between this character, my character, and the main defence counsel. So there's this rivalry that's nice to play. And it gets heavier as we go on. But it's a lovely little, you know, subplot to the whole of the murder trial.
May it please you, my lord, members of the jury, I appear in this case for the prosecution, and my learned friend Sir Wilfred Robarts appears for the defence. This is a case of murder. The facts are simple and up to a certain point are not in dispute. You'll hear how the prisoner, a young and you may think not unattractive man, made the acquaintance of Miss Emily French, a woman of 56, how he was treated by her with kindness and even with affection. The nature of that affection you'll have to decide yourselves.
If you think of the lawyers and the judge as the sort of lead actors in the courtroom, I'm the sort of stage manager. So it's swearing in jurymen, witnesses, organising evidence, keeping people quiet, whatever. And so we've developed that role to sort of include a sort of front of house one, so that I include the audience before the play's actually starting, so that they know process of things like standing when the judge enters or leaves the court. So I briefed them on that, and then that sort of role feeds back into my role in the play.
It's amazing because you're in the centre of it, and all this wood, and it's focused. It's like designed for this area. It's amazing. It is, and you see when we start the Act 2, when it becomes the courtroom, and you come and sit in it, you suddenly see people's eyes light up, and because they're completely involved, and you can look at them and you can suss them out. It becomes a complete courtroom. And you notice everything that goes on, and it's so lovely as well too, because I sit down here with the audience, and next to me the audience member can be my assistant, and I can show them my file, which is so beautifully the designer Natalie Rowe's done a magnificent job of fleshing out all the research into these photographs, and you know, all the evidence is here, so I can show little pieces to the person next to me.
It's very exciting because you're very close to almost everybody in the audience. It's like a theatre in the round. You've got these, which we didn't have in York when we did it, got these two public galleries either side, which make it a different challenge because we've got to reach the back of those. If there's an audience sitting in the back of those, we've got to reach them as well. But they're actually marvellous seats, but it's a very different experience for them, I think, because they're looking down into the courtroom, whereas the people here are acting as the jury, as it were, particularly the people towards the front, and they seem quite happy to do that.
I'd seen a photo, but you know, first time seeing was seeing both how similar it was to York, but again how different. I mean, it's obviously bigger, it's on a different orientation, but it's got this the wonderful focus of all the seats being very close together, large room but all arranged rather like a Greek theatre, but so that you can sort of see, and the acoustics are wonderful with the all the wood. I mean, the interesting thing particularly about my part, because I do a lot of the formal announcements, is that I've got to sort of my acting has to be big for the sort of ceremonial aspects to reach the ends of the public galleries, but equally I have to do very detailed small acting. I've got people who can look over my shoulder at what I'm writing, so everything I write has to be exactly what a genuine clerk of the court should be working. So what's really interesting is this contrast of acting styles within a very realistic setting.
Well, we thought we were spoilt with York, that chamber, and it was about half the size. And then when you see this, it's just so lovely, the pride in it, and to be able to actually, a lot of acting is don't look at that, look up, and then when you do look up and you see all that, it's so interesting to see, rather than just a lighting rig. It feels like it's meant to be filled with people and theatre, really, and not maybe council meetings.
Dr. Wyatt will tell you that in his opinion death occurred at some time between 9:30 and 10 p.m. on the night of October the 14th last. We have the evidence of Janet Mackenzie, who was French's faithful and devoted housekeeper. The 14th of October, it was a Friday, was Janet Mackenzie's night out. But on this occasion, she happened to return for a few minutes at 9:25. She let herself in with a key, and upon going upstairs to her room, she passed the door of the sitting room. She will tell you that in the sitting room, she heard the voices of Miss French and of the prisoner, Leonard Vaux. Janet Mackenzie was surprised, since as far as she knew, Miss French had not expected Leonard Vaux to call that evening. However, she went out again, and when she returned finally at 11, she found Miss Emily French murdered, the room in disorder, windows smashed, and the curtains blowing wildly. Horror-stricken Janet Mackenzie immediately rang up the police. I should tell you that the prisoner was arrested on the 20th of October.
It is the case of the prosecution that Miss Emily Jane French was murdered between 9:30 and 10 p.m. on the night of October 14th last by a blow from a cosh, and that the blow was struck by the prisoner. And I call Inspector Hearn.
You can generally tell at the end of the show in a way that you can't necessarily in a normal theatre because you wouldn't be that close to the audience, but there's great enthusiasm for it. And I think it is a novel, very novel setting, and the audience get totally sort of caught up in the idea that it is a courtroom. And if we have a small audience, funnily enough, they're so cowed by the idea of being in a courtroom that sometimes they don't even clap at the end of the first act because I think they're thinking, should we clap? Shouldn't we clap?